Welcome to the Nickels and Dimes Finding Financial Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Kime, and I look forward each and every week to bringing you amazing content that will provide you with a financial education, will support you on your financial journey, and most importantly, help you to find financial freedom. I hope you enjoy today's episode. Welcome to Nickels and Dimes, Finding Financial Freedom. I'm your host, Natalie Kime, and today I'm talking with my good friend and business partner, Tim Parnell, and we're going to be discussing cryptocurrency, but not in the sense of giving financial advice, but more the considerations you should be making around it, whether you're looking to get into that market or out of that market. Tim has done his research. He's learned a lot about this, and it's not a topic that I have a lot of strength in, but I know it's an area that people are looking at right now, one way or another. And I thought it would be great to have Tim on here and kind of guide us through a conversation on what you should be looking at from a consideration perspective. So again, today we're not going to be giving financial advice. We're not going to be directing anybody on what to or not to do, but really talking about it in a sense of what kind of things should you be considering, maybe where are some resources you can access information and things like that. So Tim and I did an episode a while back. And I know in my episodes, I like to ask an icebreaker question, and he already answered my typical, if you could be any superhero, who would you be? So today, Tim, considering we're in the holiday season, I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite thing about the holidays? Is it A, the food, B, the gift giving or receiving, or C, the time with family and making memories?
Yeah, so gift giving is not part of my love language, so I don't care about that. As far as the receiving side, but I know it's important for others, so we stick to that. But and I'm a foodie too, but I like to cook and love people through my food. But this holiday season, because as you know, and maybe your audience doesn't, we full-time RV, and we are staying at mom's house for the winter, and we're just wintering here in North Texas. So don't exactly have the ability to kind of do what I normally would do with, big food and feeding everybody. So I'm a guest this season. So I'm leaning hard on I'm just glad to be spending time with friends and family and just, reconnecting with people since we've been out on the road for a year and a half. We did stop back in Texas a couple times, but it just allows when the holidays kick in and the kids are out of school and my kids get to hang out with their friends and things like that. So that's always nice.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's a little of all three. But I do think if I were to categorize them, time with family and making those memories is always the most important. They're the one thing that we get to leave behind regardless, and we get to take with us. And so, oftentimes around the holidays, we make more of an effort, or I'd say we should at least make more of an effort to connect with, family and friends, loved ones that we don't always see on the regular. And you're right, your family's lifestyle, your immediate family, you're together all the time on the road, but you're not necessarily always around for those close friend interactions. And then I'm sure your mom is loving every minute of having you guys here, keeping her company as well. So thanks for answering that question. I'm going to challenge the listeners to kind of think about that for themselves this holiday season, because the holidays can carry also a lot of heavy for people. So that focus on, maybe what you're grateful for about the holidays is always a good place to maybe spend a little bit of time and refocus yourself if you're going through a difficult time. So all right. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our topic today. And Tim, I'm going to just have you kind of kick it off. My podcasts are always, let's go where the conversation takes us. And I know, we're focusing on kind of the mindset and the thought process. And one of the things Tim's done recently is he's really gotten more active on TikTok and going live to have these same kind of conversations with his audience there, because there is so much going on in that world right now. And I just felt it was really important to bring that here as well. So I'm going to kind of let you kick this off wherever you think it makes sense. And I've got some guiding questions here, but we're just going to follow the conversation.
Sure. Absolutely. So yes, I have been building a TikTok following, and I have been bridging the gap between people jumping into crypto because they're FOMOing meaning fear of missing out is the acronym. They're FOMOing into crypto right now because it's a hot topic. We're on the verge of a bull run. I mean, we've already had cryptos that are running 300 to 500% or more. Some have gone 15,000%, not ones you would normally know about. But it's just what that does is it creates a buzz in the atmosphere, in the political ear and in the regular ear of America, and everybody wants to get in, right? And they don't want to miss out on an opportunity. And so this is what I typically say to people. If you're trying to get into cryptocurrency right now and you don't know anything about it, it's like trying to learn to swim in a raging river, right? It's not impossible, but it's not a good idea either, right? Like you kind of want to gradually work your way in. You don't want to be like, all right, today's the day I learned to swim, jump off a bridge into raging river, and now you're fighting for your life, because that's what most people are going to do right now. And I know that because that's where I started. I accidentally bought in to crypto before the last bull run in 2021. I bought in December of 2020. And then the bull run happened, and I had no idea I was in a bull run. I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't have the vocabulary to even keep up with what was going on. I didn't have the technical ability to read charts and understand what the heck I was looking at. And so, like most people, I didn't lose money in this case, but I didn't make any money. And my money has been setting ever since in my accounts, waiting for the next cycle, which has been 4 years later. And so this could be the story of so many people if they're going to be buying all the way to the top and then they never sell because they don't know when and how. They're going to be left holding a bag of crypto they don't know what to do with because they got more money in the market than they intended to put in because they were trying to get rich quick. And that's why none of what we're going to say here is ever financial advice. It's not. In fact, if you want my honest truth, if you don't know what the heck you're doing, run away, run far, far away, right? But
Yeah.
but all that being said, we're just going to have a real practical conversation about conversations I've had with people and have on my TikTok channel to kind of either dispel either rumors or misconceptions and things like that, so that we can kind of shrug off some of the ignorance that we bring to the table about crypto. Because when I do bring it up, and I don't bring it up unless I know I've got somebody's ear who is curious. Because normally what would happen if I brought up crypto in the past, I would get this kind of like hands out in front of them, like, I don't want to know what you know, like crypto bad, like the Bible tells me it's awful, like these kinds of things, right? And
Yeah.
then my retort would always be like, have you ever seen the back of a dollar bill? I mean, do you actually think this is real money? I mean, give me a break. Like, you're going to shout down this whole parallel economy over here while thinking that the dollars you hold in your wallet actually are doing you favors, and they're not. It's a debt system that you live inside of. So there is a parallel economy that's challenging the economy that we're comfortable with. But just because we're comfortable with a thing doesn't make it right, right?
Yeah.
That's like saying, well, this is my family tradition. Well, maybe it's not a good one, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not. And so we have to be able to step out of our paradigm sometime, let somebody challenge our paradigm, or at least put ourselves in a place where we can listen and learn and ask questions so that we can dig deeper for ourselves. So really what this podcast should be about is encouraging people to dig and learn on their own, but to kind of give them some jumping points, some jump off points for where to go and what they might be curious about. And I will tell you this, people, you're welcome to follow me on my TikTok channel. It's Nomad Life Insurance on TikTok. That is where I'm having most of these conversations. And I always invite my audience to meet with me one-on-one. And I never ask for compensation for my time. It's complimentary.
Yeah.
And I'm able to, frankly, in my mind, I'm helping people not make mistakes that they otherwise would because I was there and I made those mistakes. So I'm just trying to help people not get burnt. And, even if that means, hey, this is probably not a good idea, not financial advice, do what you want, but maybe what you're doing right there is not a great idea, right?
Yeah.
That being said, here's some things to think about, okay, on the crypto side of things. All right. The often initial retort that we get is, it's not real money. If I can't hold it in my hand, it's not real, right? And I'm like, how much money are you actually holding in your hand when you're swiping your freaking credit and debit card all goddamn day, right? Like,
Yeah.
what is that? That's digital ones and zeros. It's a literal digital representation of quote unquote the wealth that you hold inside of a bank account that may or may not belong to you when all things go belly up, right? And so this is what people are associating with the idea that crypto is not real because it's not tangible, because I can't put it in dollars and cents in my hand. Therefore, it's not real. Okay. You know what is real? Gold and silver. You could put that in your hand. How many Americans actually hold gold and silver? If that's going to be the retort, it's the true wealth of the world. And you don't even hold it as an American because you've been lied to about what is actual true value.
Yeah.
Okay. So you are trapped in a paradigm, most likely, of this idea that the Western financial system is the end all be all system. It is not. It is not. The parallel economy is rising up to, in some cases, challenge, and maybe the other narrative might be to replace the system that we currently reside in. And whether we want that to happen or not doesn't matter. It's still on deck.
Right.
So this was my attitude years ago when I finally realized what we were kind of up against. I go, you know what? Either I learn how to ride this wave of cryptocurrency or the wave crushes me. Was kind of my attitude, right? And that might be a little extreme, but I do think that there's an aspect to what we're facing that it's going to happen whether you like it or not. So you might as well learn as quickly as possible how to navigate this thing that's coming at us. And so in doing so, you can potentially, not financial advice, put yourself in a position where you could actually capitalize well on that. And then
And
I asked, oh, go ahead.
let me stop there and point out a couple of things there. So I think that is such a huge point that needs to be said. And we're addressing the crypto topic today, but in reality, when you're looking at anywhere to put your money, and Tim and I on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings go live on his TikTok channel and have a conversation together about different aspects of what we do and what we educate people on and how we help families and we protect life, health, and income. And we had somewhat of this conversation this morning on our live that it's not that things are bad or good necessarily. Now, there are things out there that maybe shouldn't be advised, but I'm saying in general, there's all these different things. There's all these different kinds of life insurance, investment products, crypto, whatever. There's all these options, and it's not to say that it's a good or a bad when you're first looking at something. It's to say, do I understand this? And a a lot of times when we meet with clients and we talk about different scenarios, we talk about putting their money somewhere outside of their 401k. For example, that was what we were talking about today. Well, people have only ever heard about a 401k and they've only ever heard that's going to set them up for retirement and it's going to be great and all the things. And so when we bring something else to the table that challenges what it is they do somewhat understand. Most of the times they don't even fully understand their 401k. But the same thing here with crypto. It's something different. And so I would say now you mentioned, now may be not be the time. If you don't understand anything about it, you should possibly run away and run fast. But the idea of getting some information, getting some education, understanding it before you jump in or run away, because oftentimes we think, oh, it's too good to be true, or I can't hold it in my hand, so it's not real. And so we never even pursue it and we never even look at it. And that is one of the reasons I wanted Tim to be here for this conversation today, is because in all honesty, that's the way I looked at crypto. I didn't get it. Um, I'm like, I can't see it. Like I couldn't wrap my head around the concept in the beginning. And so I just never went there. I went with the things that, made more sense and got familiar with those. But as I have built in my career, as I have understood finance and money and options that are available to build wealth, I see and hear more about crypto and I know more and more people are involved in it. And so that's the conversation. And then you also mentioned, being in the bull run. that crypto is right now is part of what makes it maybe not the right timing to try and jump into it for the first time. And that would apply in you think about the stock market. So I'm trying to kind of maybe relate this a little bit to something people may understand. When the stock market is at its peak, when Apple is at the highest price it's ever been, or Amazon's at the highest price it's ever been, that is not when you want to buy it, because the market ebbs and flows. It's like riding a roller coaster. It goes up, it goes down. And so, you've got to understand that, as well as the tendencies of the markets or the stock or whatever you're looking at, to be able to navigate getting in or out of something. So I wanted to just kind of touch on those things a little bit, that it's understanding, like, what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? And does crypto actually even fit into the picture for you? So I wanted to just kind of circle back on a couple of those things as we move forward. But really, it's about that education, that research, that having those conversations. And I think that's really what made you want to get out there on TikTok and have some of those conversations that people aren't having, the in-between conversation, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And so to address the real question is, yeah, but can't I make money in crypto? And the answer is, yeah, you can make money doing all kinds of things. And that includes crypto. And you could have, I mean, if you knew what you were doing, you could have made money in the last 4 years of crypto. It's just that now that everybody's buzzing about, this contagious energy in the crypto bull run, um, here's what it means. If you've got a crypto that does 100% run up in a month or a week, or 400 and 500% in a month, you got to think that the stock market does an average of 8 to 10% on an annual basis. So that's getting 100% return on your money in a week or a month in crypto is like shaving off a decade in the stock market. That's what makes it so attractive. And
Mm.
so, especially when you get cryptos that already I have that have done 500%, but I've had to hold on the down market for 4 freaking years waiting for this moment because I've been upside down on my money. Even though I've dollar cost average and bought in on the way down, I've still been down 80 to 85% on my entire holdings. So then you got to have the stomach to even survive like that. And this is why I say, if you're gonna get into it, never, ever, ever put more money in than you're not willing to lose completely, whether you're stolen, because that's where most people, I was literally on a Zoom with a gentleman the other day. He's on Zoom with me. He's talking to me. We talked about crypto, then we're talking about insurance and how to help his family there. And he goes, I just had 900 XLM debited from my account. I said, is that on your phone? I said, yeah. I said, is your app have a lock on it? Does it have a security lock? He's like, well, my phone does. I said, no. Does your app? He's like, no. I said, your SIM card's been hacked. They've gone into your phone through your SIM card, accessed your account, and transferred your coins from you to them. It's probably what just happened. And that's, at that time, we're talking like $400, three or $400. And this is where most people are going to get hurt. This is why I'm like, can you make money? Yeah, but you've got to know how to protect what you've got. There's like security pieces that you got to make sure you get right. And that's simple as how, if you're going to have an app on your phone, which is better just not to, but if you're going to, make sure that they've got some sort of security measure and that they're activated and that you got a security measure on your phone. But even if your phone is locked, but there's a SIM card breakthrough. I have a friend many years ago, well, I say probably about 3 years ago, same thing happened to him, but he had almost $20,000 of cryptocurrency debited while he was sleeping at night.
Wow.
Okay.
So there is the same risk here that there is, and maybe, well, I don't know, maybe not more risk, but it's a little bit different, right? Like
I would argue it's more because
okay.
the technical nuances and the technical know-how, most people don't have it, and it's not intuitive. It is not an easy thing to transfer money from one blockchain to an or one exchange to another, which is basically effectively like a crypto exchange or a bank or whatever. To transfer that from yourself to the exchange and from an exchange to another and whatever, it's not intuitive. Like it takes practice and you got to know what you're doing. And it's kind of nerve wracking when you do it. But because most people just don't have the technical savvy to operate within that system, they leave gaps and loopholes and back doors open that, you know, hackers know how to come in and infiltrate, right? Most of us have had our phones hacked many, many years ago. And they're
Yep.
they're just sitting there waiting for you to do something you don't know is dumb, exposing your own accounts to them, and they come in and debit that out, right? And crypto accounts are super easy for that. Super easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I once had that happen to me. I was at dinner with some friends a few years ago, and I gave my debit card to pay my bill. And the lady came back and she's like, the charge was declined. Now, mind you, I'd gotten paid the day before, and I knew I should have $3,000 or $4,000 in that account. And I'm like,
Mm,
can you run it again? She's like, I did run it again. I'm like, okay.
mm,
So then I gave her my credit card. She ran it on that. And as I'm walking out of the restaurant, I pull up my banking app. And sure as heck, charge after charge after charge. I think I had 800 and some odd charges. Now, my saving grace was that my bank put a hold on those charges. So they were sitting there pending, but it still locked down my account. So I couldn't use it. I think I ended up retrieving all but about 300 and something dollars of that. That
good.
the first one they did was a smaller amount. And once they got that cleared, then they went bigger and then they kept trying to run them. But that's where my bank put them in pending status for a review. But it was still a nightmare. I had to get a whole new debit card. I had to change all my stuff on my, my banking account, all of that kind of stuff. And so I wouldn't know how to do that to somebody, but there's people out there that do. And so this is another situation where there is value to this. This is money. And you've also got to do the research on how to protect yourself or what apps or devices or websites or whatever to utilize to make sure you're not exposing yourself to theft, which is not even a part I had even thought about for our conversation today. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yep, absolutely. And then there's, so why crypto is another thing to consider. And there's like 40,000 something coins out there, okay? And most of them are garbage. I'll be honest. Just my personal opinion. Should no go. There might be some haters out there. Like, no, they're all. No, they're not. No, they're not. Some are specifically designed in order to be a Ponzi type scheme, a pyramid type scheme of money. To here's a as of today, there is an article posted about. Remember Hawk Tua girl?
I was just thinking about that. I saw that article last night.
So here's what's interesting. Every time during a bull run, especially in the kickoff of one, negative articles, negative whatever starts coming out in the news about crypto. Whether it's real or not, I don't know. But it's not. I mean, we had the FTX in the last one, and somewhere in the middle of it all, now we've got this one. And there's going to be more, but it's always something out there kind of dripping in to kind of slow the market down. And whether it's real or not, or they're just capitalizing and it's truly illegal, or she was just a pawn. I have no idea. I think the whole thing's freaking silly, but that's proving my point is who the heck's going to go buy Haktua coin? That pretty much proves the idea that everyone has an issue with crypto is, well, it's not real. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was absolutely capitalizing on a craze. Okay.
Hmm.
People that bought into that, you know, good luck. I
Yeah.
mean, it's wild. But the stuff that I choose to focus on, I can actually go research the companies. I can go see what that crypto is designed to do. If it's actually created to solve a problem or provide a solution in the global digital world. Okay. I like ones that focus on the global economy or even just economic solutions entirely because we have an archaic system. Our entire financial system runs on is a Swift system. It is terrible, right? And so aspect of cryptos that deal with
Oh, Tim's freezing a little bit
by
here.
the oh what?
You froze a little bit.
Oh gosh, I'm
Go
sorry.
back and say that. No, you're good. Go back and say that part again.
All right, I'm gonna double check. Yeah, let me make sure that.
So I think, for the listeners, like this is one of the reasons too that I thought it made sense to have Tim come on here, because he hasn't only done the work and gotten the education to understand what he's doing for himself in the market. And, he's currently talking about research the companies, research the purpose behind them. You should be doing the same thing for any of your personal investments in any other arena, in your 401k. This is one of the things we run into where people don't understand. Like, you get your paperwork from your employer and they say low risk, mid risk, or high risk, right? But if you actually look at those, you can see the mix of companies that are in there. And a lot of people like to align their investments with their values or areas in, society that they care about. And so you can do that if you take the time to research and understand that. But Tim has done that part on so many levels. And I feel like every time I have even the smallest conversation with him about crypto, he opens my mind, to another area. And so he's talking about the Swiss system, the system we use in the Western world, as they call it. And I know there's a lot going on in that world right now. And Tim even touched on this kind of in the beginning part of what he was talking about, is that the dollar is not the only thing that exists out there, and that there are alternative systems being created to figure out what makes the most sense and what's going to be used worldwide. And that's something I didn't realize until I took the time to start having some more smaller conversations. It's a lot of information, and I like to consider myself pretty smart, but I still have to take small conversations with Tim and then start doing a little bit of research, more for me from understanding, because people are starting to come to the table as clients that may have some money in crypto. And so there's the considerations there. The first thing I'm going to do is call Tim and say, hey, meet with this client with me, because I know he's going to be able to navigate the conversation. But are we good now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think
Okay.
so.
All right. So I'm going to
You
have
can let me know.
Tim.
If not, I told the family, get off the internet, and no,
No, you sound good now. So I was just kind of filling the gap that where you were double checking your signal, but go
I
ahead, my
appreciate it.
friend, carry on about the Swift system.
Yeah. So the Swiss system it's an archaic system, man. And it's been around since definitely before the 80s. But I think that's when it kind of took its root, and it was never designed to last. And here we are at effect.
45 years later, almost. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
so it's, it cannot survive in the new age of technology. So it has to be transitioned. And so that's why if you look up ISO 20022, you look up that, and that's going to be a series of coins or cryptocurrencies, blockchains, that has already been approved by, I'm going to quote in quotations, the financial powers that be in the world. Okay. Other people have other names for them, but we'll just call them that for now. Okay. But if you're going to try and decide which cryptos to hold, for me, I'm going to look at the ones that have already been approved by like I said, the global financial, gurus, czars, whatever you want to call them. And the reason why is because they've already been predetermined. They've already been pre-selected. They've already been, vetted. And so I start there. And then you've got things like, uh, there's a cryptocurrency out there. Its express purpose is designed to fractionalize real estate, so that, imagine going up to a house that the house ownership was divided into 1,000 pieces, and you could purchase one, 10, 100, or 1,000 of those pieces of that property. And whatever portion of ownership you owned in that fractionalized ownership of that property would be paid to you both in equity and income if it was rented. So there is crypto that is literally designed to fractionalize real estate, so that any person anywhere can go online and buy with their money some tokenized, fractionalized portion of a real estate portfolio. We know them today as a REIT, real estate investment trust, but we're bypassing that altogether at some point in the future. We're just going to tokenization of real estate. You could buy a portion. You could buy your way into the entirety of that property. They're doing it with artwork and paintings and sculptures, so that you can, they're selling art where you can fractionally own the art, but whoever effectively buys the entirety of the tokenization of that art then can have that art sent to them. They become not just the owner of all the tokens and fractionalized digital ownership of the art, but the art itself. But once that's only when they own all of it, but it's fractionalized until then, which art is often a way of writing off your money, right? And so now let's think about that. And I'm, not a CPA and I'm not trying to give tax advice here, but there are some of the reasons for purchasing expensive art is as a write-off. And if maybe you don't need to buy $1 million painting, but you're wanting something of value, you can buy into a portion of the $1 million painting and still get the tax write-off, the tax benefit. Okay. Or wealth storage, let's say. Maybe it's not tax, but it's wealth storage. And you can insure your wealth at that point. Okay. So this is a whole different thing that we're getting into, but this is to help you understand this is what could be coming. Now we can also go and imagine this. You can tokenize or you can attach a finite amount of gold or silver or palladium or whatever to the blockchain and say, for this cryptocurrency, we have this many billions of worth or trillions of worth of gold that's attached to this cryptocurrency. And there's only a finite amount of this cryptocurrency. And so therefore it represents this finite amount of gold. So now you have a not an inflationary or a deflationary, you have a stable financial platform because you have it backed by gold and silver. There's a finite amount, so you can't just print it into oblivion like we tend to do these days, right? And that means that whatever that amount is going to be has value attached to every single digital currency, which if we're looking at our bank accounts on our phone or it's just digital. We've already been indoctrinated to a digital economy. If you're Venmoing somebody or PayPaling somebody or Zelling somebody, not endorsements of those companies, but if you are, you're doing it. You're operating in a parallel economy with like cash in order to pay somebody for their goods or services. So then we have to let's walk it way back.
Well, so
Go ahead.
Let me jump in real quick and say, so really what you're explaining here is it's similar to like when you buy a stock in a company, right? A company is made up of this many stock options. Maybe there's 1 million, right? So when you invest in a stock in that company, you're buying so many whole or parts of a stock, right? So let me just throw out there and say ABC company. I'm not even going to throw out a real company, but ABC company. I want to buy $1,000 worth of their stock, right? So I go make that transaction happen. And that's either maybe multiples. If their stock's worth at that $100 each, I own, what is that? And I buy $1,000 worth. I have 10.
And yeah.
Right. So I own 10 stock in that company. If it's, valued at $10,000, I own 1/10 of a stock. It's the same idea is kind of what you're saying, right? Whatever the item is, it's broken down into increments, and then you can own those increments. You can own quantities of those increments that have a value based on what the thing is, whether it's art, real estate, whatever. Am I making that connection correctly?
Yes, except the danger territory we're in comparing crypto to a stock is that by definition, a cryptocurrency has to be a currency and a stock has to be a stock, because if a currency is a stock, then it's a security. And that has been there. So as an illustration for the mind, that's the closest most people can be familiar with to say, think of it like this for an illustration. But in reality, it can't be a stock because a crypto isn't it isn't a physical representation, or it isn't a paper or digital representation of a company, which is what a stock is. It is a currency. It is a digital transaction. And so then you got to, what is currency? So then this is why I say, let's step it way back. I remember there was a point where my daughter, she was, I guess, third grade, and the kids would go out on the playground and they set up their own economy.
Okay.
They set up an economy and ironically, it was acorns because there's actually an acorn. But it was
There is.
acorns, and it was the quality of the acorn and the size of the acorns, and then there was sticks, the size of the sticks, and they would trade them for acorns, but acorns had more value than the sticks did. And so these kids would literally go hunt all over town, and I would have to drive my daughter to a freaking acorn tree, and she would rummage through and find all these acorns because she's like, this acorn's worth this much, and this, and I'm like, what is happening? But these kids built their own parallel economy that made sense to them, and their currency was sticks and acorns. So what is currency? It's not a limited definition. It's whatever people are willing to transact between me and you. All
The
currency,
value that we put on
that's right.
something.
So the currency is I give up my non-infinite life to work for a thing that I can take in physical and or digital transference and give it to someone else for their non-infinite life here on earth for their time and their value that they traded for that. And then they get to take that and give it to somebody else. So where we have to be mindful is we need to take a portion of that because most people are existing on a linear person to person transaction of your energy and time for currency to give that currency to somebody else. Okay.
Right.
It is a current. It is flowing between people. If we do not take a portion of that out and be mindful about where we invest that and or put it to grow for us and protect it over time, we will only ever operate on a linear person-to-person transaction, and we will exist in this world and leave it with nothing or leave nothing behind either to our family or anything because we're only ever transacting peer-to-peer, person-to-person.
Right.
Okay. So what I like about the blockchain, what I like about crypto is it's basically the kids' acorn economy in the playground, but for adults. Does it have real value? I don't know. Other people think so. So as long as they do, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play on that playground a little bit. And I'm going to make sure that I'm smart about what I'm doing so that I can, level up my financial position, not so I can stay in crypto, but so I can take it out, the majority of it. Some of it I will keep long term. Some of it I've got in the family trust. Okay. Like it's going to my kids. But I want to take the majority of that, pull it out, and I'm going to go to financial fortresses, like the financial foundations, the building of my own bank, so that I can level my own family up in legacy and wealth and knowledge. And that's the other things that you and I educate people on, which is how to properly build life insurance assets in order to protect and continue to build wealth while, having all these nuances that come with it, tax, sheltering and protection for market loss and all these other things. I do not plan to leave the majority of my money that I will make in crypto after this bull run. I will take my gains and I will run. That's what I'm going to do.
So I think that brings up a good point, is you're talking about these different places we may put our money, right? And so one of the things we talk to clients about is diversifying their portfolio. Where are they at in life? Are they in their 20s and 30s and just getting started, right? Are we putting some foundational things in place? How much time do they have? Are they in this for the long run? Can they ride that roller coaster up and down? So we're talking about diversification based on where you're at in life, what your goals are, how much time you have, all those kind of things. Then we're saying, okay, well, then maybe it does make sense for you to have some money in the market. And maybe it does make sense to have some money growing tax-free long-term. And maybe it does make sense to have some money in the bank that you can get to quickly. And so calculating those percentages, and I know you and I've talked before that you kind of have, I think if I'm remembering correctly, your portfolio split in 3 different ways. And so only one of those pieces exists in crypto. So number one, you're not throwing everything you have at this thing. And you already mentioned, don't put anything more in than you can afford to lose. And to some degree, I think that applies across the board when it comes to putting money into any kind of investment that has the possibility to lose your money, right? So if there's a possibility to lose your money, you got to look at what you're putting in there, your time frame, all of those kind of things. But really diversifying and making sure you're avoiding overexposure in an area that could cripple you or that could bankrupt you. But then you're also saying, know the market, know your goals well enough to say, hey, some of what I have here will always stay here, but when I make my money here, I'm going to be smart enough to walk away and put some of that somewhere else, utilize it in a different way. And so
Yes.
just that diversification of your portfolio, having a plan, not just throwing money at it blindly, crossing your fingers and not paying attention to what's happening. Because I know a lot of people I talked to when crypto really took off, and I was like, I don't know anything about this. I'm good, which was maybe not the best decision I could have made. But their accounts went way, 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 way up. And then they took a really big drop. Now they were still ahead of what they originally invested. And again, somebody that had done enough homework to say, I'm in this, for the long haul. I have a certain goal of where I want to be. But that whole conversation, back to understanding what you're doing, assessing your risk and going into it, and having a timeline and a goal, a definitive goal on what you're trying to accomplish, to make sure that you're staying on top of everything, right?
Indeed. Indeed. And so here's, as far as my portfolio, I started with precious metals as my primary, like I needed to have that. And America is terrible when it comes to their understanding of the value of precious metals as a hedge against economic uncertainty. And I bought my first batch of precious metals in 2015, and then I've just been adding and adding and adding. And to be fair to most people's point who consider themselves savvy investors, like, your precious metals haven't hardly done anything the entire time you hold it. And I said, I don't hold it so that it'll do something. I hold it so when the event happens that's out of my control on the financial global scale, I'm good, because I've actually got real money. That thing that you think is real money, that's not, those greenbacks in your wallet and whatever, and the digital accounts. No, I've got physical precious metals in my home. Like,
Yeah.
we're fine, right? But then I also got into crypto, and I understood, wait a minute, there's so much upside opportunity here. And I look at it, for me, it's like venture capital money. The thing about venture capitalism, it's very risky and you never
Yep.
know what's going to pay out. But when it does, it could pay out very, very well. So you have to have a high risk tolerance. You got to be able to sleep at night knowing that I might not ever see this money again. How much of am I willing to risk? And this is where your decision, not mine, has to make sense for you. Some, it might be a few $100. You know what? A few $100 is learning how to, you are paying attention now because you paid to play. You are paying now, you are invested, and you're going to pay attention more now than ever before because you put a few $100 in.
Yeah.
I've got at one point, a third of my portfolio was precious metal, a third was crypto, and then a third was in a life insurance asset. And I will tell you, most people in the financial sector be like, that is insane. Insane. And you know what? They were right for the last 4 years. They were. But now my portfolio is very heavy on crypto, not because I bought anymore, but because the market is starting to turn up, and it will
But
somewhere into 2025.
because you were willing to play the long game.
Because I played
You
along.
were willing to hold the line. What do they say? Hold, hold, hold,
Yeah.
hold, right?
Yeah.
The movie, I am missing the
Braveheart.
movie. Yes, Braveheart. He's like, hold, 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 hold. And you're right there on the edge and you're ready to run screaming, right? But you
Mm-hmm.
got to wait until just that right moment. And if you don't have that, if you're not wired to walk that line,
Yeah.
then maybe you shouldn't go there. But
Right.
but you are willing to do that. So you're willing to sit there. Like, think about all the areas of your life. How many times in your life has somebody told you you're crazy for doing that? Or I can't believe you do that. Whether it's about money or anything else, right? There are the times in our life that we're called the crazy ones or delusional, or what are you even thinking gets asked. But you were willing to ride that line. But now you're reaping the reward of having stayed that course, right?
Mm.
And that's for
So
4 years, people were like, what?
That comes back to this. If you're going to get, frankly, into anything, honestly, if you're going to put your money into something, know what you hold, know
Mhm.
what you're putting your money into, fully understand it to the degree that you know it inside and out, so that at the end of the day, if you are so completely challenged with the decision that you made, that you can stay steadfast in. Here's an example. I bought a crypto, and maybe we cap it off with this, but I bought a cryptocurrency, not an endorsement. You do your own research, whatever, but it's called XRP. And I have a lot of faith in what it's designed to do, as far as how it will make me money and take care of my family. That's what I have the faith in, not other aspects. And so I bought it in November of 2020, and I put my first $5,000 into crypto with this purchase. And 2 to 3 weeks later, it got sued by the SEC for being accused of being a security. And it went down immediately. I was down like to $1,500. I'm going, oh my God, what did I do?
What did I do?
What have I done? I just convinced my wife that this is it. We're going to do it.
Gonna
We're going to
kill
be
me.
rich, like just all the dumb FOMO stuff that you hear people like, fear of missing out. We're got to do this, babe. We're going to be, not that it was like, the Muppets, but anyway, but it was a big decision to take $5,000 and dump it into an asset class we knew nothing about, into one of so many options. And it's the one that gets sued by the SEC. And I'm going, what in the heck have I done?
Yeah.
And now I had done enough research to feel confident at the time of the purchase, but of course that shook me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, okay, do I pull out and take the loss? No, I need to research this. So I went to work, and I had time. I had lots of time at that moment. And I was just like 6-7 hours a day. I'm just shoving knowledge into my brain going, what have I done? What do I need to know here? And the conclusion I came to was this: I got to buy as much of this stuff as I can get my hands on, because this SEC ain't going to beat this company. This lawsuit's literally designed to establish clarity in the crypto world in America. And this Ripple company is the only one that can get sued by the SEC and win, and therefore establish clarity in the crypto market, which will basically be like the Howey test for securities, but it'll be like the Ripple test for cryptos. And it's the reason why this lawsuit is happening, is for clarity in crypto. And therefore, by holding this particular coin, this is what I surmised, this is what I came up with in my own mind, was I will hold, as cheap as it's going to be from now until whenever, until it takes off, I will hold the one crypto that at some point will have the only legal clarity in America out of 40,000. There's got to be value in there somewhere. Somewhere. There's got to be value. All things else aside. And I came to that conclusion within a few months of that legal suit, and me going down 65-70% or more. And then I tell Allison, my wife, I'm like, we got to put as much as we can stand in this thing. Because here's the thing. I remember when opportunities come across your lap.
Yeah.
And you either miss them or you see them and you don't take action. You go, gosh, I wish I'd done something. And they've happened a few times in my life.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Right? Like 2008 market collapse. I told Allison, we got to buy every house we can get our hands on. They're as cheap now as they're ever going to be. We were broke. We lived in an apartment. Like we did get two houses out of it. We bought two houses and while we were broke, but we managed to pull it off, got two houses. That's all we could get because I wasn't savvy enough to figure out how to do more. But it was better than nothing. And it was willing to take a stab at an opportunity. It was venture capitalism. It was, the American way, bootstrapping it. But I knew, I was like, God, if we could have figured out another way to get more, like imagine what we could have pulled off. I had the same sentiment. Luck is all the opportunity meets preparedness, and you take action. That's what other people look at and say was luck. No, it's not. You were ready because you took the time to educate yourself. You took the time to prepare for a moment. Then you took the action that it takes to actually bring it all together. That's what I look at this as, this moment in history. And that is not an endorsement for you to go out and jump into this thing feet first, not know anything. No, you got to do your part. But that's the way I look at this opportunity. Is this is the moment for me that I've been preparing for 4 years. Even prior to that, even what I learned in 2008, 2009 market collapse has been a culmination of things for me to seize this opportunity and go in it with a third of our overall wealth portfolio and have to live lean in some cases. Because look, we all lived through a Biden administration, people, whether you like it or not. The last 4 years have been tough on everybody. And I put $15,000 worth of diesel in my vehicle in the last year and a half, driving all over America. So it's still costly, but you're having, like, we chose to live a leaner life because we know what we hold,
Yeah.
and we were willing to buy more even along the way. Even right up into right before this last month where it really took off, we threw one last lump sum in there just to go, well, here it is. We've been waiting for it 4 years. Let's give it one last, bit of love, and no regrets at this point. But, we're not done yet. You don't make money until you take your money out. So
Yeah.
anything could happen, ladies and gentlemen. Do not think that just because you threw some money in and your $100 is worth 500, you're going, I'm winning. No, you're not until you take it out.
Yep.
Okay. You got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them.
I'm
You
so
got
glad
to
you went
walk
there.
away, and you got to know when to run. Right. So
That was going to be my wrap up, as Kenny Rogers in The Gambler would say. Know
that's
when to
right.
hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. Like, that's super important though. And that's where I really want to wind this down. First of all, Tim, thanks so much for your time and your knowledge. You guys, let me say this. If you did not understand this conversation, don't go throw a bunch of money at crypto.
That's pretty
There
much
are
it.
parts of this conversation when I listen back, I don't fully understand. But what it's going to do is identify maybe some next questions I asked him in a conversation. Because again, I hope to at one point have enough knowledge to feel like if I want to throw some money into crypto as things move forward, I can feel confident to kind of know how to navigate that and what to be looking for and stuff. So I am on my own journey from that perspective, but also to better help understand. Because like I said before, more and more clients come to the table and there is a piece of their portfolio in crypto. And so the number one thing I'm doing is pulling Tim in to help me work with those clients, but understanding and assessing and learning as he helps me work with those clients on how to kind of advise. And he's right. You haven't made a thing until you pull your money out, and knowing when to do that is very important. So as we close this thing out, it's, look, you guys, you got to be able to manage your emotions. That's the one thing. And that last example Tim gave that he did, like, the sky was freaking falling. Tim was Chicken Little, and he held the line, but he spent that 4 years diving in headfirst to learn everything he could while he was walking that tightrope and understanding. Now, before he put more money in beyond that, he was walking that tightrope, learning to understand what he had. So he knew it made sense to double down on that or triple down on that or whatever he did. And that's what this conversation is about: getting the education, making sure you can manage your emotions, reassessing your financial position over time. No matter where you have your money, reassess it on a regular basis. I meet with my clients every single year to see where they're at. Are they ready for a next step in their wealth plan overall to continue moving forward? So whatever it is you hold, crypto, precious metals, or otherwise, are you reassessing so that you can make the right decisions at the right times and you can truly build wealth because you're taking your money out, which is when you've actually made the money. And then, of course, always be looking at the bigger picture. As life goes on, our responsibilities, our goals, everything changes. Making sure that you're taking your own temperature along the way, that you're sitting down if you have a partner, and having conversations about, have our goals changed? What do we want to accomplish? And making sure that you're both on the same page. So if you want more conversation, you can certainly reach out to me through the podcast link and set up a time. You can meet with Tim and I both. I can connect you with Tim, but neither of us charge to sit down with people and have those initial conversations. And I know Tim's more than willing to do that. You can also, again, follow him on
Nomad Life Insurance on TikTok is where you're going to find me. Very active and with a community that I'm trying to connect with and help and make sure they're properly guided.
Yes. So thanks, Tim, again for being here. Thank you, listeners, for joining us today on Nickels and Dimes podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Kime, and I look forward to continuing to bring you amazing content each week that will educate you, support you, and most importantly, help you to find financial freedom. We'll see you again soon. Take care and stay safe.